But we've gotten 3 pages that were leaked, and it shows pretty explicitly what this person was on. And it took us a whole year to even get these 3 pages, even though law enforcement has been telling us over and over, oh, it'll come out, everything will be made public, but we still haven't gotten any answers. And the victims' parents, the parents haven't, the people affected haven't gotten any closure from it. Now, I'm not sure if they've been privy to, the manifesto prior to it being leaked, but it doesn't appear that they were. So we're going to get into this next video here. Let us know your thoughts.
Fox News confirming images of the Covenant school shooters manifesto that were leaked to the public are in fact authentic.
The 3 leaked pages showed the shooter, who murdered 3 children and 3 adults in Nashville in March, expressing rage at white privileged kids, writing in part, quote, "Want to kill all you little crackers, bunch of little blanks with your white privileges. Can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't."
Hold up. I just don't get it, because isn't she white? Or wasn't she white?
Yes.
So I don't get it.
I do.
Okay.
No, please inform.
Yes, please let us know.
I don't know. I think it especially affects, because she's a teenager, right? I think she was a teenager. Yeah. I think it especially affects them because they're, coming up in the world. They don't know who they are. A lot of emotions and hormones and stuff. I think it was a female transitioning to a male, right?
I think so.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So by taking on that label, you are now considered a victim. So therefore, you no longer fit in the box of white privilege.
You're no longer white.
You're no longer white privilege. You are now a part of a minority oppressed class.
Gotcha.
So therefore, you're allowed to kind of say all these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think that's right on point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's also very sad.
It is.
They have a high death count.
Now, the national media largely ignoring the story with 0 minutes of coverage in morning shows on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, and NBC.
Joining us now with reaction, the Dana Show radio host, Dana Lash. Dana, always great to see you. Lawsuits were filed by the National Police Association, the Tennessee Firearms Association, calling for the public release of these writings left behind this trans murderer, and they were instead leaked. Why has the public not seen this? Why were they hiding it? Now they're all outraged that these pages were leaked.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Is why it took a year to get 3 pages. Why it's taken this long to get 3 pages. I mean, they should have released this from the very beginning, because honestly, this is kind of what we all suspected, number one. But number two, I think part of the reason, to answer your question as to why they didn't release it, I think it's because it destroyed 2 narratives. You had the narrative about trans terrorism with radical gender activism, but you also had the narrative about gun control. And everything that was said in the wake of this horrific tragedy, you would think that law enforcement, you would think that these agencies would be further compelled to release it. I mean, remember the Tennessee 3 that were invited to the White House and that disrupted proceedings in the state capitol and made this huge, they turned it into a civil rights stance on the backs of these victims. This was all due to what happened at this school. They were calling for gun control. They were calling for limiting all of our rights based upon assumptions that they were making. And when you don't have a motive, when you don't have a clearly written manifesto as this murderer left behind, I mean, then everyone can fill in the blanks and then they can push whatever agenda they want to push. Now they're all mad because they have to talk about it because pages were released. And I have to add, I did see where the mayor had said that they need to investigate and see who leaked this and why it was leaked. I think they need to investigate why people were stonewalling being transparent with the public.
Hold up.
And so, yeah, what do you guys think about just why do you think that it took so long for these pages, well, to not even be published, but it took so long for it to even be released in the way that it was? Why do you think they're dragging their feet?
Definitely media perception. They didn't want, or they did want certain reactions to what happened. And I don't know. I think behind the scenes, there was probably someone controlling it being released, and ultimately it got leaked.
So you think it was political?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It definitely, like the woman was saying on there, it destroyed the narratives that they were trying to push during that time. Because, like she said, when you don't have a motive or reason as to why you did something, you can have all these groups come out and kind of fill in the blanks and say, okay, this is the motive, this is what happened, this is why, and this is what we should do about it. But now it's like, uh-oh, we're completely wrong. Now we have to kind of rewrite everything, or we have to like distract everyone with something else, distract everyone with something else, because now they're trying to figure out who leaked it. Who cares?
Yeah,
who leaked it? It's leaked. It's out. What are you going to do if you find out who leaked it? Like, I don't get that.
Yeah, definitely when right after the event took place, I saw a lot of people saying, when they found out the person was trans, saying, well, they were probably feeling disenfranchised by this group of people, especially since this was like a Christian school, and the Christian stance on transitioning and gender and all of that. And so they, to your point, Miracle, they made up the reason for and justified the behavior for why this person could have done it. And so I thought that's why they had to control the narrative, and either they were trying to figure out a way to release it by also justifying the behavior, or they were trying to make sure enough time had passed to where it kind of fizzled out and just kind of slip it in the back door, which either way I think is horrific, and it's something that happened very publicly. And so there needs to be transparency with the public in this situation. And I don't think that transparency hasn't happened in this case. And I think that's wrong on all fronts, but especially for the victims and the people that were affected directly from those victims passing away.
Yeah, and I think in multiple cases, transparency isn't fully put out there for the people watching the news. And I think the purpose of the news originally was to share everything, but then now it's to a point where people would find certain parts boring, so they're like, oh, well, we're just going to leave that out and put this in there. And then that goes into like elections and politics and stuff like that. Like, oh, we got to sway these people over here to these people over here and stuff like that. So
yeah, and also certain news channels are propagating their narratives to a specific demographic of people. And so it's very targeted and curated effort as to what they say and as to what they produce every single day. And that's why you'll see all these different news stations cover the same topic but say things completely different, because they're all trying to appease a certain group of people, which I think is just horrid, because then people aren't actually getting news, they're not actually getting informed, they're getting placed in an echo chamber for whatever they're watching. And so that's one of the reasons why I don't typically watch, traditional news.
Same.
yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. I get all my news from YouTube mainly. So, yeah, it reminds me of a Big Brother.
Oh
You
yeah,
gotta have a
1984.
scapegoat. And yeah, exactly. In 1984, they had the room where they would scream at their enemies and have the whole, I forgot what they called it, but it would be all of them in there and they would scream at their enemies. And it's kind of the same thing here with controlling the narrative and everything. Like, you need that scapegoat to keep everyone distracted so that you can kind of do whatever you need to do in the exactly. And so that's a lot of what I'm seeing right now, and it's kind of scary how close we are to that. And it's something that needs to be talked about more, but people are kind of just choosing to ignore it.
No, I mean, absolutely. I definitely agree. So, I mean, what does this convey about media controlling narrative? We gave you our thoughts. We would like to know yours. We're going to move on to our next topic. We will see you over there right after this break.